Hey there, CityCast listeners. Are you ready to make a difference this holiday season? Food and Friends is a beacon of hope right here in DC, providing home-delivered, medically tailored meals and medical nutrition therapy to our neighbors battling cancer, HIV, AIDS, and other serious illnesses. And here's where you come in. Slice of Life, their annual pie sale, is now in its 18th year. The goal is to sell 6,000 pies, helping to provide an incredible 1.9 million meals for our neighbors in need. Better yet, these are not ordinary pies baked by schlubs like me. They are actually made to order by Whisked Bakery, the award-winning woman-owned local bakery. So here's the deal. Do good, feel good, and buy pies. Visit foodandfriends.org to place your order, and let's make this Thanksgiving a little brighter for those in need. That's foodandfriends.org, foodandfriends.org. Today on CityCast DC, we are joined by Virginia Public Radio's Michael Pope to talk about the elections in Virginia and what they may mean for you. Plus, CityCast Priyanka Tilve and I will dig into winter forecasts and the new DC eateries on Michelin's Bib Gourmand list. Today is Friday, November 3rd. I'm Michael Schaefer, and here's what DC is talking about. Hey, Priyanka.
Hey.
And Michael Pope, welcome to the show.
It's great to be back. Thank you for having me.
All right, so you are a friendly voice from Virginia on our local public radio station. And anybody within eyesight of a advertising vehicle can tell you there is an election going on. And we are seeing ads for all kinds of like state legislative races and, you know, other sorts of elections that for a long time were way too small time for actual TV advertising, but not this year. There's a ton of money flowing in. Can you give us the basic lay of the land?
Sure, yeah. I mean, well, as you said, if you are anywhere near a television, you can't help but be overwhelmed by all of these ads. There is a Loudoun Senate race where there has been like $6 million paid to book TV time. There's a House race in Prince William County where a huge amount of money has been spent booking TV time. There's a new thing that I'm seeing, though, with this election cycle, which I recently saw a television ad for a Fairfax school board race. And I don't remember ever seeing a television commercial in the DC media market for a school board race. So that's a new one. There are things on the ballot all over Virginia. All 140 seats in the General Assembly are on the ballot. So that's 100 in the House. 40 seats in the Senate. That doesn't mean they're all competitive. There are many, many unchallenged seats here. In fact, 1 out of 4 seats in the General Assembly is unchallenged. There's a whole bunch of people who have absolutely no opponent on the ballot, including where I live. Actually, my local House member, no challenger.
Wow.
And so you'll actually find that a lot.
So wait, why are people who could presumably be doing lots of things with their money spending it or giving it to candidates in order to spend on like TV ads in an incredibly expensive media market for things like state legislative seats?
Because they want to win.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first time that I can remember where people are super, super jazzed or invested in a state legislature race.
It seems like they want to win every time. So there's something different this time. What's the something different?
The something different would be the stakes are so extremely high because we're on the other side of this election. Either the Republicans will control everything, the governor's office, the House, the Senate, and the Republicans will be able to do anything that they want to do. Roll back abortion rights, get rid of the electric vehicle mandate, pull back on the Clean Energy Act, change the 45-day window of early voting. I mean, if the Republicans win the Senate and the House, they've already got the governor's office, they will be able to enact their agenda, the Republican agenda, versus if the Democrats are able to maintain power in the Senate, maybe even take the House, they will serve as a check on the Republican governor. So the stakes really could not be higher for the next 2 years. And whether or not Governor Youngkin becomes the Republican darling and is able to enact his agenda, or the Democrats are able to stop him.
For people who aren't interested in like Virginia, legislative arcana, there's sort of two big things here. One is that thanks to the Supreme Court, states now decide whether or not you have a right to have an abortion. And Virginia, maybe this is like a glimpse of the future in all the states where suddenly there's something existential about state legislative elections that didn't used to exist. And then the second is that they don't have just any governor. They have one who's sort of being touted as a potential future of the Republican Party kind of guy, and he wants to demonstrate that he's got some political juice in his purple home state.
Yes, well, the Supreme Court decision basically does, in fact, as you laid out, mean that abortion rights are now a state issue. So essentially, abortion rights will be on the ballot every year in Virginia and in every state election. It's particularly heightened in this particular election because of the dynamics here. If Republicans win, abortion rights will be rolled back. I mean, like they have said this on the campaign trail. The governor has multiple times said that he has been campaigning on the 15-week ban for most women. So this is a ban for most women. It's a limitation for others. But even then, he's on record saying that he would sign any restriction on abortion. So if it's 100% ban, he's on record saying that he would sign that as well. So the stakes really could not be higher for all of the issues. But the one that's really grabbed people's attention is abortion rights.
What is likely to happen here? Like, what are the polls saying? What do people expect the Republicans to get all three, the trifecta?
Polling is difficult when you talk about such small districts. Like polling is notoriously unreliable in congressional districts. We're talking about districts that are even smaller than congressional districts, right? So there has been polling about sort of statewide polling of, are you supporting your local Democrat? Are you supporting your local Republican? And the Democrats do seem to have a very small edge, but is that within the margin of error, or it's tough to say. And the Democrats do feel like they've got some momentum based on abortion rights and Republican extremism. We'll have to see, when the election returns start coming in next week.
A lot of the commercials that I am seeing from Republicans, on the other hand, play up crime and this supposed crisis. Is there something like practical that they would do about crime, or is this just that, they want to like let everyone know they don't like criminals?
Well, fact check on the crime wave. If you look at FBI crime statistics, we're not in a crime wave. In fact, crime is very low compared to the early 90s. So if you look at violent crime, it's down 40% since the early 90s. If you look at property crime, it's down 60% since the early 90s. We're actually at one of the lowest points ever for the most popular kind of crime, which is property crime. So, all of this fear mongering that you see on the airwaves about a crime wave, the FBI statistics just don't back that up. You asked about what the Republicans would do if they were elected. And yeah, they actually do have a long list of things that they want to accomplish, mainly rolling back all the criminal justice reform efforts the Democrats did when they were in power. On the campaign trail, you have Republicans campaigning against woke prosecutors. So, the most prominent of which we actually have in Fairfax County, one of the progressive prosecutors for justice. The Republicans don't like the progressive prosecutors for justice, and they're campaigning against them. And they want to roll back a lot of these criminal justice reform efforts that we have seen over the past few years.
So weird hearing you, Michael, lay out those crime statistics for Virginia while I sit here in DC, and it feels like we've got like the inverse on every single stat that you mentioned. Just strikes me as such a weird juxtaposition.
Yeah, but the crime statistics, like you've got this microscopic look at things that are going up and things that are, like pull out of that here and pull, if you were looking at a computer screen, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, and you will see that the highest crime rates statewide in Virginia, I was looking at Virginia crime stats here from the FBI, statewide, the highest crime stats were in the early 90s, and it's not even close. This is a line that goes straight down since the early 90s. But people don't vote on FBI crime stats. They vote on their perceptions. One
of the political trends of this entire Washington area in the last generation or two has been that it's become a kind of a place that's quite similar across jurisdictional lines, right? Like the politics are generally left or center left, whatever the county, whatever the state, what you can do legally, what you can get, what you can't. There was a time when, there was like legal segregation of public transport in Virginia not in DC. So the bus crosses the Potomac, laws change. The idea that they would ban abortion in Virginia all of a sudden like really boosts the foreignness of one jurisdiction, and I think would mean that people would suddenly start thinking much differently about like, where do I choose to live in this region? It's not just sort of about where I can get the best house and so on. And I think that I think will represent, if it were to happen, a really significant like change in the culture of being a Washingtonian.
Yes, undoubtedly true. It would mean that when you leave the district and come into Virginia, you are no longer coming into the last southern state to have abortion rights. You are now going into a state that bans abortion. There's a debate about, is this a 15-week ban that we're talking about or a 15-week limitation? Democrats have been calling it on the campaign trail 15-week ban. Republicans have pretty recently started pushing back and saying, no, it's not a ban, it's a limitation, because there are exceptions for the life of the mother. And there are exceptions that they have built into their proposed ban. But it is a ban for most women. It's only a limitation for some women. So that's important to think about here, because we're talking about existing rights. If the Republicans get into power, they want to roll back existing rights. And whether you call that a ban or whether you call that a limitation, it's removing rights that currently exist and pulling them back. And that's what's on the ballot in Virginia.
Yeah, it really feels like they're splitting hairs there with that terminology.
Well, they've got to make their case. This is not the first election where abortion has been the central issue, right? And so if you look at recent elections where Democrats have been successful in campaigning on the issue of abortion rights, what you find is criticism of Republicans for not making the case. They tried to change the subject. They didn't address the abortion issue head on. And so they're trying to do something a little bit different with this election cycle, which is they've got their own argument on abortion rights and they're leaning into it. Instead of ignoring the issue of abortion rights, they've got an argument to make and they're leaning into it.
Speed into success. Learn French. Much like a high-speed train, Alliance Francais's immersive French language classes propel you toward fluency. Unlock a world of personal and professional possibilities when you become a member and learn French at our renowned Alliance Francaise chapter in DC. Tradition and modernity intertwine, offering you an unparalleled learning experience that includes language classes, cultural events, and the only lone library in French language in the Mid-Atlantic region. Embrace the language that bridges cultures and enriches your resume. Enroll today. The winter session starts on November 29th. All ages and levels welcome. If you sign up by November 3rd, you get a $20 discount off the tuition fee. Find us at francedc.org.
All right, picture this. You are at the airport or strolling through the grocery store, and suddenly there they are, someone who seems tailor-made for you. You know that feeling, right? The instant connection you can't ignore, but then they leave. Another missed connection? Not with Never Missed, a new dating app that turns those chance encounters into unforgettable beginnings. It's simple. Download the Never Missed app for free right now on the App Store or Google Play. In just moments, you will be ready to transform fleeting glances into lasting connections. Download the Never Missed app and make your story of how you met an unforgettable chapter in your journey. All right, so one thing that will be the same across the region and is not subject to local voters' choices is weather. My neighbor said to me, hey, a bunch of nuts have predicted that it's going to be a really cold winter. And it turned out that what he was referencing was the Farmer's Almanac wisdom that years when there's like a big fall of acorns will have a cold winter. This is not necessarily borne out by science, but there are a bunch of predictions of winter weather have landed this week, most of which suggest it'll at least be a wetter winter, which means more snow for DC. It's been relatively snow-free last few years.
Yeah, I mean, if that acorn thing is true, then it's going to be the winteriest winter ever, because I've been bonked on the head many, many times this fall.
Are you okay?
I don't know. I mean, you tell me, do I sound okay?
I don't know. Some of those points you made before are a little...
I know, I'm feeling a little nutty, so we'll see.
Oh, I like it.
DC winter weather conversations are some of my least favorite conversations in DC. I think that the kind of excitement / crisis of oh my God, it's snowing is Palookaville-ish here because it just doesn't happen that much. But even worse than that is that because it's a place which attracts a lot of people moving from elsewhere. Some of those elsewhere people come from actual snowy climes and then invariably get all snooty about how DC people don't know how to handle themselves in the snow, which is surely a correct point. But I think the changes in the last few years, the pandemic and so on, changes particularly in a city like Washington, which has so much office work as a percentage of the labor, mean that weather just kind of matters, in theory at least, matters less. Like you don't have to miss work. You could do it from home. I mean, you don't even have to miss school. Like kids have learned how to go to school from home. Does this mean like the end of snow days? Well, not. I don't think legally it does. I expect people will take as much opportunity to take snow days as they can. But we are in a moment when like a lot fewer people are commuting, and a lot more of the commuting is like, oh, I feel like going in today. That means that like if the roads are impassable because Washington people can't handle themselves in the snow, or if offices close early because, according to our northern friends, the federal government is ninnyish and overly scared about snow, all this matters less on a practical level for the lives and obligations of a lot of people.
Yeah, well, to your point, Mike, I think that given the inconvenience factor is limited now for most people. I mean, obviously, essential workers would still have to go in, but for most people, like you said, it's not as inconvenient to have a snowmageddon. The whole time I've lived in DC, it's been fairly mild winters, and I would love to see this place blanketed in snow. I guess Snowmageddon was what, 2009, 2010?
I'm a veteran of Snowmageddon.
Yeah, what was it like for you?
I remember digging out my car over and over and over again. That was rough times.
How about you, Mike? What was your experience like?
So these epic DC snows, I mean, they're kind of awesome, right? Like the city is blanketed. It's like genuinely, it's a day off. This is not a place that has the wherewithal to like dust itself off and get back to work within a couple hours. And that's probably like a wise enough investment, because it would be, given how much it snows here, it'd be really stupid to like invest in that many snowplows.
Totally.
You say they're awesome, but have you tried to parallel park in several feet of snow? I mean, it's not fun.
I'm sure I have.
After a while, with all the snow, Snowmageddon was the situation where there was like a lot of snow, and then there was a period of time when there wasn't snow, and then there was a whole lot of snow, and there was like just a series of snowstorms over one after the next. So what happens is all that snow got pushed to the side of the road, and then people drove on it, and it hardened, and then there was more snow, and that snow is pushed. So every parallel parking space, there was the street, which was clear, then there was a wall of hardened snow, and then there was the cars parked on the other side. So you had to, in order to parallel park, you had to navigate through these walls of hardened snow.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, we have not yet had like a big crisis snowstorm in the age of like ubiquitous use of like Amazon Prime and DoorDash and Uber and so on. The metro is supposed to keep working. It doesn't always, but it's supposed to. People rely on it. But I think a lot of people have now built their lives around relying on these other sorts of transportation options. And it's still an open question about whether, like, if you're an Uber driver, maybe it's just worth your while to just like stay home that day.
Farmer's Almanac wisdom on the big acorn crop is that it means a lot of snow. Is that what we're expecting?
If you're a farmer. The Public Radio Reporter's Almanac may say something different.
What if we told you that this could be a great time to save on a new home? The Arbor at Tacoma is situated for your most convenient urban lifestyle and is now offering 2.5% credit to use to buy down your interest rate below market rates or pay a portion of your closing costs on your brand new home. The kitchens feature striking dark navy and white cabinetry with champagne bronze hardware. And throughout the residence, you'll find wood plank flooring and smart home technology. Select homes even feature a private outdoor space. Perfect whether you want to enjoy the vibrant Tacoma, DC community or comfortably retreat into a sleek sanctuary all your own. With a quick walk to the metro, the city is all yours. Or stay close and enjoy the on-site retail. Located at 218 Cedar Street Northwest, the Arbor Tacoma offers brand new 1- and 2-bedroom condos starting in the upper 300,000s. Visit thearborliving.com or contact our sales managers for more information. Our 2.5% credit is only available for a limited time. Again, visit thearborliving.com for details.
IMAX makes movies an experience with 12-channel audio and crystal clear images. It makes other theaters sound like this. Pew, 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 pew. Dong. Boom, 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 blah. When they should feel like... that. Don't just watch movies. Experience them in IMAX.
All right. So speaking of DoorDash, there's a new Michelin Bib Gourmand. As a person who doesn't get out enough, can't speak to them. But Priyanka can, particularly because we've arranged for a meal to be DoorDashed to her home even as we record.
Yes.
Jealous.
So what are you going to be eating here?
Yeah, so Bib Gourmand, for people who don't know, is a Michelin designation that means high quality food at a, quote, more affordable price. Interpret that as you will. And so the two places that have been added this year are La Tejana and Yellow, as Mike said. Yellow is a Michael Rafidi spot. He and his team have savory and sweet pastries, sandwiches. It's all drawing on his Middle Eastern heritage. So he's got roots in Jordan, Palestine, and Lebanon. And his other restaurant, Albi, which is in Navy Yard, won a Michelin star last year. So he's really killing the Michelin game. And then the other spot, La Tejana, is in Mount Pleasant. They have Tex-Mex breakfast tacos with house-made flour tortillas. I've been there a few times. If you go on the weekend, the line for La Tejana is like down the street and sometimes around the corner. It is wild. They're good breakfast tacos. They do stuff them quite heavily, which is, I don't know. I know some people who don't like that because they think the ratio's off. I know some people that love that because no one wants to skimp on filling, but the tortillas are really the game changer there. Mike, you said you haven't been. Michael Pope, have you been to either of those spots?
No, I haven't. And I mean, I would say that I'm green with envy about Yellow, but that would be...
Hey.
We're all about the puns today. Okay, well, speaking of Yellow, like I said, I've been to La Tejana. I have not been to Yellow. And so we have ordered it, and I have it here.
Priyanka is opening a yellow bag.
It's quite literally yellow. Okay, so I ordered 3 things.
She's removing objects from this bag.
Okay, I ordered something called it's spelled K-A apostrophe A-K. I would guess that's ka'ak, but I'm not 100% sure. And the flavoring was called urfa thing, which I have no idea what that means, but it looks kind of like how would you describe it? It's almost like a bagel without a hole. They call it a bagel purse because it does have this tiny little hole that you can hold it. It's apparently a Lebanese street food, and I got it with a scallion sumac labneh.
Like you put it on top of it or you dip in it?
I'm dipping because I think it's easier, but...
Are you supposed to like cut it and then use a knife?
Well, if it's street food, you probably are supposed to walk around with it.
You don't walk around the streets with a bread knife? Come on now.
This is good. It's spicy.
The dip spicy or is the bread spicy?
Both. But I think I'm mostly getting the bread. I looked it up, and the urfa flavoring is like these Turkish chili peppers. So I think it's the bread that's mostly hitting me with the spice. That's
So
really
what else
good.
did you order?
So I also got a harissa egg croissant. It looks like a little muffin with a hole in it, and then there's an egg inside.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's like a soft egg. If I break this apart.
It's like those muffins that have cream cheese in the middle.
Yeah, kind of. And like a massive yolk right there. Okay, this is not going to be pretty to eat. I'm glad no one can see me do this except for you two.
It's looking pretty uncouth there, Priyanka.
I know. Oh my God, this is delicious. Oh, it's so good. Like the egg is the yolk is runny. There's a layer of harissa, which is like a Moroccan spice, underneath the egg that you can see between the pastry and the egg. It's like flavorful, and the pastry is so flaky. Oh my God, this was amazing.
So you've got your egg and you've got your bread. It's all in it's neatly packaged for you. You don't have to put it on a plate.
Yeah, exactly. I really wouldn't need a plate. I could easily walk around and eat this. Again, my face would probably be covered in egg yolk, which is again an unsavory look, but savory pastry for sure. Okay, and then the third thing I got was a orange blossom croissant, which I think is just flavoring. I don't think there's filling, but I love orange blossom flavoring, and it's also such like a classic Middle Eastern flavor. And our producer, Julia Karen, has had this before and recommended it. So, okay. That's really good too. I am a big fan of yellow. I support this Bib Gourmand choice.
Orange blossom is a very difficult flavor to capture. I used to live in Florida around a bunch of orange groves, and in the spring when they would blossom, it was the most amazing smell, but difficult to capture in food.
That's what I was just going to say. It's also, if you use like an extract, it can easily be overpowering. And I feel like they got the balance just right here. Like it's there, but it's not too much. It's not too sweet, but the sweetness is present. That was really good. And again, it's a very flaky, buttery croissant. It's high quality.
So there's 2 new DC restaurants on Bib Gourmand this year. How many does that make total?
30. We have 30 Bib Gourmand places total. You may remember last year the additions were Daru, which is an like Indian fusion spot on H Street. There's a Creole restaurant named Dauphine's, Menya Hosaki, which is an amazing ramen place up in Petworth, and Honeymoon Chicken, I guess technically also in the Petworth-ish area, which is such good fried chicken.
Wait, where do I find a Bib Gourmand? Is it like a list, a book I can buy? Is it a list that exists solely in the digital space? What if I want to like fully immerse myself?
Okay, yeah, so the list is online, but you can also get the Michelin guidebook if you want, the actual thing, collect them every year, have them for posterity, that kind of thing.
I'm a hard copy guy myself. In fact, I collect all kinds of books and guides, especially reference guides are the best.
Well, okay, there you go.
All right. Well, listen, Priyanka, enjoy the rest of your meal. Michael Pope,
thanks.
it's awesome to have you here, man.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
And that is all for today here on CityCast DC. Our lead producer is Priyanka Tilve. Our producers are Julia Karen and Elizabeth Kama. Our newsletter editors are Kayla Koti-Semerman and Natalia Aldana. Our production assistant is Susanna Brown. And our hosts are Bridget Todd and me, Michael Schaefer from Politico. Music is by Alex Roldan. If you enjoyed the show, make a plan to carve the word CityCast in a snowbank at the first blizzard of the year. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Bye.